Hello, welcome to a lesson on solving two-step and multi-step equations. The goal of this lesson is to solve each equation in one variable that contains more than one operation. Here is the equation solving procedure that we will be following, and the goal in this lesson, just like in the last several lessons that we've had, will be to isolate the variable. In the steps we'll take in order to do so, number one, remove parentheses. There won't always be parentheses, but if there is, we must remove them first by using the distributive property. Then we will combine like terms on each side of the equation. Number two, add or subtract as needed to get all variable terms on one side and all constant terms on the other. Then combine like terms. Number three, we will multiply or divide to solve for our variable. And number four, it should be number four, not number three, check all possible solutions. Now again, remember, to maintain equality, we must perform the same operation to both sides of the equation. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. That way so let's get to our first example. Solve each of these equations. First one, 2x plus 3 is equal to 9. So, according to our equation solving procedure, there's no parentheses. The first thing we're going to do is add or subtract as needed. We want to isolate this variable, so we want to get this by itself. We have to look at what is attached to it. So I'm going to subtract 3 on each side because I'm going to add or subtract before I multiply or divide. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I'm going to end up with, cross that out, and this will come down, and I have 2x is equal to 6. And now I want to get x by itself, so what do I have to do? 2 times 2 is being multiplied by x, inverse operation. I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. Cross that out, 2 will cross out, I'll have x is equal to 3. Our next one, 9 minus 2x is equal to 23. Now on this one, you have to be careful. So, our 9 over here, our 9 is positive. This is negative. So in order to get rid of my positive 9, I need to subtract 9 from both sides. These 9s will cancel, 23 minus 9. Now when I bring this down, this negative is going to come with this 2x. The negative will come with 2x. So, bring it down, negative 2x is equal to 14. Now when I want to do this, I have to make sure I'm dividing by a negative, or I will have a completely wrong answer. So, I'm going to divide by a negative 2x on both, or negative 2, excuse me, in order to get x by itself. And so when I do that, these will cancel out, and then 14 divided by 2, I'm going to have a negative 7. Don't forget about your negative and positive signs. So, one more of these. 2x plus 1/4 is equal to 3/5. So, once again, I'm going to add or subtract to get the variable term by itself. So 2 is being multiplied by x, and plus 1/4 is being added on. So I'm going to subtract my 1/4 first. Now, it's not nice, we don't have common denominators like we did before. So, I'm going to subtract 1/4 from both sides. Subtract 1/4 from over here. These are going to cancel out. I need to get a common denominator over here. And I'm going to do that over here. So, I'm going to multiply 3/5 minus 1/4. I'm going to get a common denominator of 20. So, 3/5 needs to be multiplied by 4. 1/4 needs to be multiplied by 5. I'll end up with 12 over 20 minus 5 over 20. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 5 is 5. And that'll leave me with 7 over 20. So then, I'm going to bring this back over here, and I was left with, these canceled out, so I was left with 2x over here. 2x is equal to 7 over 20. Now, like we said, my x is being multiplied by 2, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And these will cancel out. And now how am I going to divide by 2 to this fraction? We always multiply by a reciprocal when we're dividing fractions. So I'm going to multiply this by 1/2. And that will give me x is equal to 7 over 40. Let's do one more of some fractions. 2/5 x minus 1/2 is equal to 3/5. So, same thing as before. This is being multiplied, so I'm going to add or subtract first. I'm going to add 1/2 to each side. And these two are going to cancel out. And I'm left with 3/5 plus 1/2. Now I don't have a common denominator again, So I'm going to do that work over here. The common denominator will be 10. So I'm going to need to multiply this by 2, and I need to multiply my 1/2 by 5. 2 times 3 is going to be 6. 1 times 5 is going to be 5. 6 over 10 plus 5 over 10, I'm going to have 11 over 10. I'm going to bring that back over to this side now. So, like we said, these cancel out. We're left with 2/5 x is equal to 11 over 10. Now, 2/5 is being multiplied by x. 2/5 times x is equal to 11/10. So I'm going to divide by 2/5. But that doesn't look right. What do we need to do to divide by a fraction? We need to multiply by the reciprocal. So, multiplying by 5 over 2, you don't have to look at that down there. So when we multiply by the reciprocal, we end up with 10 over 10. That's 1, so these cancel. And we multiply the numerators and the denominators. 11 times 5 is 55. And 10 times 2 is 20. So x is going to be equal to 55 over 20. But now we can reduce that. Don't forget to reduce. X is equal to 11 over 4.